Walking through the darkness, Han was on guard considering the circumstance. They had entered a cave system that potentially had a connection to the strange behavior of monsters inside the kingdom. Instead of the usual damp walls of caves he had visited on Earth, this cave was dry and acrid, making it a little difficult to breathe. The lights from their torches casted shadows onto the wall of the cave, making everything look a little sinister. They had been exploring the network of tunnels for an hour, following the trail left by monsters. Val had her guards positioned at both the front and the rear. Even though I'm not an adventurer, it sure feels like I am, lately, Han joked out loud. He looked up at the ceiling to make sure that there were no monsters that were trying to sneak up on them. Yes, the council requesting you to join this expedition was something I was vehemently against. It is not your job to go around the kingdom for the interest of others, regardless of your abilities, Val agreed with his sentiments. Sounds like you have some differing opinions, you and the council, Han glanced at her. As Val looked around her, making sure to keep her head on a swivel, she sighed in frustration. I had begun to notice a drastic shift in behavior and mentality within the academy. There have been more incidents between those belonging to the nobility and those who are not. But I thought that the academy was above such things, where titles could be used to attack those of lesser status, Han asked, trying to confirm what he had already started to notice. Even though the academy was built on noble goals regarding equality for all, I have begun to understand that the council is starting to deviate from its original purpose. In the beginning, the various nations had control over the education system, where only those in power appeared to gain benefits of such a system. The founder was a minor noble who used his estate to create a school that anyone could attend and receive a high-level education, Val responded. Her face looked pained as she thought about the place that gave her so many opportunities. Han could understand her frustration about the whole situation. What are you going to do about the council's actions? He asked her. I will continue to try and convince the other members to see that the path we are heading down will only cause the downfall of the academy, she stated resolutely. A sound of rocks being stirred and falling could be heard off in the darkness. All of them jerked towards the noise, trying to see what was happening. The guards tightened their grips on their swords and spears. Captain, send some men to investigate what caused that noise, Val ordered. With a cool detachment of someone that had experience in combat, the captain selected several people to go off and search for any signs. Compared to the level-headed appearance of the captain, the one selected was sweating and looking nervous about venturing into the darkness. The light from the torches only seemed to accentuate the fact that they were on the tail of dangerous creatures. With how dark this tunnel is, why do you not create the glowing orbs you use inside the pyramid? Celestial whispered, leaning close to Han. Instead of answering her question, Han asked, do you not get the feeling that something is off about this whole situation? Celestia looked back at him, appearing confused. Seeing the confusion on her face, Brittany leaned in and said, the moment Master arrived back from the ruins, the council summoned him and sent him on this expedition along with someone that does not agree with their new ideology. Hearing what Brittany said, Val was initially unsure what was being implied, but slowly the implications started to dawn on her. But why would they want to send us off to search for monsters? She whispered to them. That is part of the fun. I think we will find out why we are here, or at least get a clue. He grinned at her. Master, there seems to be something up ahead, Horacia informed him through their messaging system. What do you see? He asked her. There are a massive number of monsters. I do not believe that this area is home to a nest, but several nests, Horacia answered. It appears that we have found a clue as to why we are here, he muttered to himself. Before Celestia was able to ask what he meant by that, they heard screaming and the sounds of flesh being ripped apart. All of them began running towards the noise they heard. "Help me! I don't want to die! Please!" They could feel the terror and helplessness as the man pleaded to them, as scraping sounds could be heard. "We are coming!" Val yelled out to the voice. Instead of getting closer, the pleas could be heard further and further away. "How are we not getting closer?" one of Val's men shouted in frustration. The walls began to slowly narrow, and their pace began to drop. "Val, we need to slow down," Han yelled towards her, trying to get his voice past the clinking and clattering of armor. "Fuck!" he cursed in frustration. Val was too focused on chasing after her men, instead of realizing where they currently were. Seeing that Han and his group was slowing down, Val yelled, "What are you doing? We need to get to him. He's probably still alive." "Exactly. How could he still be alive?" he yelled back at her. As he was about to explain his thinking, he heard Erasia scream, "Master, they're heading your way!" All around them was a trampling and guttural roar that could be heard. Everyone stopped thinking about the men that were being dragged away, and only one thought could be heard in their mind, which Val whispered, "It was a trap." "Go back the way we came!" Han yelled out. With how close together the walls were, it would be difficult for them to fend off an attack. "Brittany, grab Val!" he yelled as he ran back the way they came. Moving back the way they came, Han was hoping that Val's men would follow his lead and make way for everyone else. All of them needed to move before what he suspected was going to happen. "Scorching fire, obey my call! Fireball!" Celestia yelled out, and sent out an attack to the monsters running down the wall ahead of them. "Damn it!" he cursed. If these monsters were smart enough to make a trap, then they were probably smart enough to cut off their escape. Monsters were consumed by Celestia's spell and screamed in agony. Her command over fire had definitely improved and was able to damage the creatures, instead of bouncing off their hard skin. Behind them, several monsters dropped in the middle of the men as they were trying to escape. Han could hear them scream in terror as the monsters began to devour them. No matter how much training a person received, this type of situation would make all that training moot. With her size, Annapolis was in the very rear, so was already situated where the walls opened up. She provided covering fire, killing monster after monster. "Master, we need to retreat if these men are going to survive," she shouted out. Turning around, he sent out hundreds of thin wind blades, slicing up the monsters like they were inside of a blender. He needed to be careful so that he didn't cause the cave to collapse by using something stronger. As Brittany appeared, dragging Val behind her, she also began to attack the creatures. No longer inside that confined space, she summoned her armor and weapons. Using one hand, she was cutting up the beast with a large sword while throwing large spears with the other. The spears were launched so quickly that they went through tens of monsters before stopping. "They are behind us!" Val alerted them. Moving himself to get a clear path, he stretched out his hand towards the ones rushing towards them and made a jet of fire appear. The fire was so powerful that he felt his hair being blown back. No matter how strong his flames were, the sheer number of monsters was staggering and kept coming towards them. In the background, Val had regained her senses from allowing her men to be led into a trap and was killing monsters that were near her. It was only through the assistance of Annapolis and Brittany that she hadn't been overwhelmed. The sounds of men screaming as they were being devoured could be heard, causing a sense of disorientation as the sounds bounced off of the cave walls. It felt as if the screams were coming from all around them, as they were mixed with the guttural growls from the monsters. Cries from mothers and prayers to gods could be heard mixed in. "You need to focus. Brittany slashed the monster that was about to land a critical blow on the Val. Block out the noises. Do not think about what is happening to your men. Though Brittany sounded critical, there was understanding in her voice. Han ground his teeth as he was barely able to fend off the legion of monsters. "This is getting ridiculous," he yelled as monsters continued to pour in. It was like trying to hold back the ocean when you were on the seafloor. As hundreds of monsters were being killed by him, he was continuously racking his brain to come up with a solution to get out of this.